The story begins at the school of our protagonist named Im Dajun, a teenage high school student. He wrote his last will because he was planning to die, and before he died, he wanted to document what his school life was like. Im Dajun was severely bullied by Lee Doyan. Doyan doesn't pick any particular day to harass him, and even on his birthday, he was still targeted for bullying by Doyun. That is his life. He goes to school barely, enduring Doyan over and over again. On the same day, while he was about to go back to his room, his professor yelled at him and students started to gossip. Some students feel bad for him, but most are making fun of what he experienced. Every time he experienced embarrassment, he feels like he was standing naked on the stage because of the look of all the students around him. While he was writing his last will, he imagined that Doyan will be the one to be blamed for his death. The thought of it makes him happy and satisfied. He also imagines what happens to his family after he dies, if they will worry or they will miss him. He was really determined to pass away, and before it will happen, he would like to have his last farewell together with his family. While they are having dinner, he was about to apologize to his father and also as his last farewell message, but his father is not paying attention to him and focusing on the news. Dajun was curious, so he also watched the news. It's about a student who murdered several classmates after suffering from constant bullying. The murderer is named Magium, and he doesn't regret what he has done. When he was protesting, he stated, "You're not the one who should die, so do whatever you must to survive. If you don't want to die, execute." After hearing it, it stuck in his mind and he agreed with Magium. There is no reason for him to die. Before he goes to sleep, he searched on the web about assassinating people. He's thinking if he really can murder just like Magium did. But on the same side, he was also thinking about the negative outcome once it will happen. While imagining the case, he was frightened and told himself that he can never hurt someone just like that. All he wanted is to live a normal life without fear of anyone. He has a huge hatred for Doyan to the point that he always wished someone can assassinate that man. On the same night, he's looking for a screw and imagined his pillow as an enemy. Just like Magium said, the one who hasn't to die isn't him, that should be Lee Doyan, and that is what he promised to himself. The next day, he still wanted to murder Doyan but end up being hesitant. He will not continue his plan as long as Doyan with his crew will not mess with him. Suddenly, Doyan came and hit his head. He was humiliated in front of everyone and he wanted to stab Doyan using his screw, but he was hesitant. He immediately recalled what he had learned about Pavlov's dog as soon as he saw Doyan's face. It involved feeding a dog repeatedly with a bell as part of an experiment. The effect is that the dog begins to droll at the mere sound of it. In his case, years of getting beaten up had made him develop a conditioned fear. It all happened just from looking at Doyan's face. His entire body went into a state of freezing, beginning at the back of his neck. During a split second of making eye contact, the plan he was imagining in his thoughts the previous evening was destroyed. The moment Doyan struck him, he began to despise himself for being a coward. Instead of stabbing Doyan, he ended up hiding his screwdriver so these men won't notice it. He hates himself just as much as he hates Lee Doyan. After school ends, they bring Dajun to a construction site and they prepared a lot of drinks for him. Dajun told them that he doesn't drink, but Doyan threatened him that if he will not drink, he will die. Doyan immediately mixes drinks and Dajun can't stop him. The only thing he can do is look and follow Doyan's order. Alongside the drink, they put used socks, ramen, potato chips, dirt, and saliva on the drink and ordered Dajun to drink it in one go. He refused but ended up beaten. He doesn't want to drink it, but because of his fear, he cannot do anything but swallow the nasty drink. He vomits it all, so Doyan told him that he will have another one and they will not be done until he will finish one properly. After how many minutes, there is only one left and Dajun couldn't finish even one. Doyan ordered his crew to buy some more. Dajun and Doyan left on the site. Dajun feels dizzy and his head is like splitting. He feels like he was going to die at this rate, so he ran away to escape. Dajun is chasing him till the road, and when Dajun caught him, he was punched multiple times. He suffers extensive agony until his body is weak and full of blood. He's getting beaten up to the point that he can't resist. Just seeing his face scares him and makes his mind puzzled. He can't do anything because of his fear. When Dajun saw a truck coming on their way, he pushed Doyan into the middle of the road and ended up hidden by the truck. Dajun ran away and his nausea disappeared. He was thinking about what he did and he comes to the conclusion that if he did not push Dajun, he will be the one to die. It all started here, his desperate story of survival and living life without fear. When Dajun comes home, he's trembling in fear while he was wrapped in a blanket. He was pursued by his conscience, but at the same time, he believes that it's only self-defense. If he doesn't push Dajun, he will be the one to die. After all that he experienced at the hands of Dajun, all he wants is revenge. The next day, Dajun comes to school like a normal day. Up until this moment, he was still thinking that this is the last day of his life. He wanted to know what happened after the accident and wanted to enter his classroom without his mortal enemy, Doyan. When Dajun entered the building, he was overthinking things because it was too quiet than usual. He was scared to open the door because he was imagining that there were military forces waiting inside to ambush him. He ended up entering his classroom and he was glad that his imagination is just contrary to his worries. Their classroom seemed the same as always. The bustle before the bell, the studious students reading their books, everything's the same except for one thing: Doyeon's seat is empty. When their professor came, he informed all the students about what happened to Doyeon. According to the professor, Doyeon is unconscious and the corpse said he got hit while jaywalking. Dajun was alarmed after hearing it and he comes to the conclusion that he doesn't need to get arrested. Because of his conscience, he wanted to turn himself but also wanted just a few days of peace. Today, he got to enjoy the peace that Doyeon had stolen from him. An ordinary lesson and an ordinary break time without getting beaten or listening to Doyeon curses his parents. At first, he didn't know what to do, but he opened a book for the first time in a long time. He used to love reading in middle school, but once he started high school, he just couldn't find the time. Having a normal school life isn't anything special. It's not much, but he likes it so much that he doesn't want to waste it by going to the cafeteria. While he was reading, his tears flowed after he remembers Doyeon for taking a little part of his life from him. Suddenly, a fellow student approached him to ask as to whether he was the one who shoved Doyeon into the road. After hearing it, he was terrified, but his classmate was only making an inaccurate prediction because he had seen Doyeon and Dajun together the day that it happened. Two men left and laugh because they think that a loser Dajun is incapable of murdering someone. While Dajun is observing, he feels like the classroom has changed a bit. Those men used to pick on him when Doyeon wasn't around, but now they are not interested. All the other kids who got bullied alongside him seemed a lot more comfortable too. When Doyeon is gone, their classroom is so peaceful, and because of that, he was thinking that he might have done a good thing. For him, it's all for the best, and maybe, with everything he has been through, God is rewarding him by not letting him get arrested for what he has done. Suddenly, there's a police car at their school. People were curious and Dajun's classmates informed him to go to the teacher's office. His worries came back, and at this point, he was under arrest for the attempted murder of Lee Doyeon. The teachers can't believe it, but the policeman brings evidence. It's a security camera at a nearby shopping complex captured Im Dajun pushing Lee Doyeon. Just like that, his sweet dream was over. He had a fleeting dream of a normal school life. Because of this, he was full of hatred toward God for not allowing someone like him to be happy. After that, everything went as predicted. It didn't look like a big deal in the movies or TV, but the reality was so much heavier for him. Time and time again, society reminded him of what he had done, and every time, it weighed heavily on his heart. The judge announces the verdict. Im Dajun pushed Lee Doyeon in front of an upcoming vehicle, which resulted in severe, possibly lifelong injuries to Dajun. This is a felony punishable under attempted murder. However, Dajun will get a 2-year probationary period since he was bullied and intoxicated when the offense was committed. The fact that he was force-fed alcohol and had written will work in his favor. He was saved from being sent to the juvenile detention center. But for some reason, he wasn't that happy. He lost a lot after he was exposed to the sin he made. He was blamed for destroying the integrity of Woojin High School, and without hesitation, he was expelled. There will be no chance of repeal on this matter. After he goes out to the guidance committee, students are murmuring about him for pushing Doyeon, and he was mad and wanted to explode. He just let it go because, for him, it doesn't matter anymore. He will never see them again. He had the impression that the only place for him now is home, but unexpectedly, his father abandoned him when he arrived. At this time, he undergoes emotional pain and had no choice but to leave the only place he has. It was raining and he was no place to hide. He never wished for anything big. He only wanted a normal and peaceful life. Now that he has no school and no family, there's nothing left of him. Dajun is not aware that Doyeon's crew is following him. All these people want revenge after what Dajun did to their friend. They bring Dajun into a building and he was beaten by all these men. He feels like his body is going to break, but he can't get away because there are too many of these men while he was all by himself. If he used all his strength, he could take on one Doyeon. But there's nothing he can do against a bunch of Lee Doyeon directing their rage at him. A tall muscled man stepped up his head while they were questioning Dajun, and they wanted Dajun to beg like a dog in front of them. If his apology is not good enough for these men, they will keep beating him. After suffering all the pain, Im Dajun explodes and screams a curse at them. Because of that, he was beaten once again like he was going to die. I did nothing wrong. I just struggled to live. The ones who are bad are you guys, he said while he get a brick and smashed the man in front of him. Everyone was shocked, but they did not do anything. Dajun keeps smashing the brick into the man's head and forces all of his strength until the man is unconscious. Other men can't do anything but order him to put down the brick he was holding. Now, he understands everything. He doesn't need to feel guilty over these trashy people. To get away from these people and to survive, he has to execute. All these men ordered him once again to put down the brick, but he was not listening to them. They hold each stick and rush toward Dajun and hit him. Dajun wanted to fight back, but his strength wasn't good enough. He was beaten until his down and they stood up Dajun, but he was too weak and full of blood. Because of how Dajun stare, the man was about to hit his eyes, but there is one young man who came holding his ramen and told them that this place is his house. He is Han Gil-cho, a homeless young man and a pro fighter. Han Gil ordered them to leave, but Doyeon's gang laughed at him because they thought that he is joking. "I'm not joking, this really is my home," Han Gil stated. He also added that this brick is his pillow, but there's already blood on it. The bully told him to get lost and Han Gil kiddingly leave, so they thought he was scared. Han Gil turned back and throws his ramen at the bully, which made him shout in agony. Han Gil smacks the guy beside him and everyone was astonished at what they witnessed. They were wondering who this man is and they ready themselves to fight. Han Gil whizzed sand to the opponent and punched him, causing him to vomit blood. The opponent was about to grab a sharp weapon, but Han Gil kicked him on his balls. There is another bully who wanted to hit him with a stick, but he easily just kicked them. The man was annoyed and stared at Han Gil, but Han Gil poked his eyes. "You still want to fight after seeing this?" the man stated. The opponent concludes that it is a knife covered with paper, and Han Gil told the opponent that he can also use a weapon just like them. The opponent was scared, and later did he know it was only a chopstick wrapped with paper. Han Gil kicked the opponent in the face, and he don't need any kind of weapon to battle with them. Im Dajun witnessed everything. He concluded that this person fights strangely but so strongly. Han Gil took Lee Dion's gang by himself, and Doyeon is observing him, and it's refreshing for him to see a man fighting with the gangsters without fear, even if he's outnumbered. All of Lee Doyeon's gang walk away and we're all scared. Dajun gives thanks to Han Gil, but Han Gil was annoyed at him and told him to leave the site. Since Dajun was envious, he begs this man while saying, "Make me strong like you." Han Gil was irritated and was about to punch Dajun. He was crying like a kid, and he told Han Gil that he will buy him noodles if Han Gil will come with him. He wanted to share what just happened to him and why those guys are chasing him. They go to the store and Dajun treats Han Gil so they can talk. Han Gil is different when he fights. He was very cheerful, so Dajun asked once again if he can help Dajun to know how to fight. Han Gil doesn't want to teach Dajun because of some reason. He concludes that Dajun wasn't suited to the fighting because just like a flower in a greenhouse, he lives a normal and sheltered life. He can teach Dajun how to fight if they will hang out together, but Han Gil believes that Dajun is the type of person that would die easily in the streets, so he told Dajun to not bother him and just give up. Dajun begs once again, but Han Gil leaves him and told him to go back home. Dajun feels down and questioned himself if he's supposed to suffer like this for the rest of his life. The next day, Dajun follows Han Gil on the road and he doesn't want to give up easily. After that, Han Gil kept refusing him, but Dajun was still determined to be strong, and all the men who bullied him will beg on their knees when the time comes. Since Han Gil doesn't want to teach him how to fight, his plan is to copy every move of Han Gil. That's why he continues to follow him around. Han Gil has a unique style of living. He only brings rice to the park and steals the cat food, but nobody warned him. Dajun is very determined to adapt to living outside, so he decided to copy what Han Gil did. He also steals cat food but was scolded by a woman. He saw the Han Gil sleeping on the playground, but nobody wants to disturb him. Dajun also tried, but the kids were playing where he was sleeping. Han Gil lived like a wild animal and everyone was scared of him. There was a moment when Dajun doubted his ability, but he was confident when he saw Han Gil fights once again. Every opponent he has was ended to be frightened of him because of how strong he is. Dajun wanted to become like him and get revenge on those people who bullied him. Dajun still chases Han Gil and he's not aware that Han Gil knew he was still following. Han Gil decided to approach Dajun, and this time, he will teach Dajun how to fight, but it has one condition. Dajun should beat Jeonghyun Park, one of the people who beat him on the construction site. When the night comes, both of them are still together, and Han Gil compliments Dajun for fighting against the bullies using a brick. But he also added that it's not enough. Han Gil compared Dajun to a rabbit struggle because what Dajun did is not revenge, but he was only caught in a trap. Don't you want to properly get back at those bastards? Then, switch positions with them, Han Gil stated. After that, Dajun realized everything. While Jeonghyun was busy, he was not aware that Dajun is already behind him. He is the prey before, but this time he's very determined to be a lion and get the revenge that he deserves.
Thanks for watching. We hope we entertain you and enjoy the content we have provided. We update our channel regularly with manhwa content, so make sure you subscribe for more. Don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts. Lastly, we would love to hear from you, so don't hesitate to reach out with any questions or feedback. Until next time, take care and stay safe.